Okay. Oh, okay. All right, cool deal. So the idea is looking at what's the real battle. So what is the real battle? There's two questions that I think will help us to answer what the real battle is. The first question is, what does it take to become a winner while leading at home, and then also being able to lead you and in your heart. So what is that? What is it going to take? And then how will you bring others along with you? Those two things I think will help us to answer what the real battle is. Okay. So there's two things that we're going to be able to do today. We're going to be able to know the way to win, and then the way to win with us. How do we move all together? All right. Next slide, please. So the issue a lot of times is that we're so focused on having things happen that we entertain those things first. The word that they use is like delayed gratification versus immediate gratification. So we quickly want to try to hurry up and get those things done first and go to having, but we haven't necessarily worked on the things that we need to be doing to get to that point. And because we don't work on those things, it creates a lot of issue for what we end up having, right? The ultimate goal is to become the person that can actually do the thing. So I've worked with tons of people who have addiction problems, marriage problems, a lot of different kinds of scenarios. You know, the common issue is work at doing all the skills, but they don't become the person that they have to in order for them to get to a different place in their life. So we're talking about a real issue today, and the real issue is for you to be able to become the person that can really do the things. And I want to be able to give that to you guys today, okay? Go ahead. So there's two things that I'm going to give you. One is guts, the framework that I talked to you, that I showed you earlier. And the second one is being able to look at frames. And once I get done with frames, you'll completely understand it. Okay. So guts is four things for us. The first thing that it is for us is us being able to know that we are doing what's good. And that might seem really simple, but if you think about your motivations, a lot of times our motivations don't come from what's good. It comes from what we want or what we're trying to have later by accident. But what if you switched over in your mind that, look, everything that I'm going to do, it's going to be focused on me doing goodness, right? And then the second thing is us being unique. So the way I call it, or I like to say it, is that you have your own ability. You don't have to be anybody else's, but you really have to appreciate what you have and try to grow into that without comparing yourself to others. And the world isn't really set up like that. The world is set up to show you like what you're not. And it's up to you to know what you actually are. So us being able to accept that I'm my own person, it's up to me to rule over my own thing, right? And your own thing is needed. I always tell people like the toothpick maker needs the person to cut down trees. But they can't intercept each other's jobs. They just got to do their job. So I want you guys to appreciate and know that who you are and really reign over that. The next one is us being able to know like I have to operate in truth. I have to operate in truth. What's absolutely true? Not what I think is like these are the facts, but what's absolutely true. And us being able to discover that helps us with our being. So follow through, be congruent, be honest with yourself and the people around you. The hardest thing to me is for us to be honest with ourselves. A lot of times we're so busy telling the lies of other people that we never really stop to think about how to be honest with ourselves. The last thing is spirit. So this is a big deal because you have to operate from this instead of like operating from our needs or our wants, right? In order to do that, to me, it's your vibe. It's us being able to know, look, my goal on this earth is to be able to serve others, but the only way I serve others, not make people happy, serve others. The only way I serve other people is if I'm able to first serve me and do the things that I have to do to build that up so I can be available for that, okay? And so your operation source has to be spirit. It has to be of good energy. Everybody, I haven't seen the new one, but I remember the old Emotions movie, Inside Out. And Joy is such a drag. I mean, she's important to the movie, but you can tell like that droop and that drip gets everybody in the room to droop and drip, right? But imagine if you could bring the kind of energy that's needed because you kind of focused on all these things that we're talking about here. Your vibe's important, okay? So that's the first one. All right, so we're gonna learn these 6 things, and I'm gonna go through them quick. If you guys want this later on, you're like, Thomas, like there's some information that I want to be able to have just to remember. I will totally give it to you at the end. You could link to our Instagram, and you can get a hold of me. All right. So it's going to be about, I'm going to talk to you about focus creates belief, frames create focus, belief leads to feelings, not necessarily in this order, but all these things. Beliefs are faith and doubt. We're going to play bingo with it. So feelings become functioning, and then action versus inaction. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So in life, everything outside of you, we might not realize this, but everything outside of us does not control what we do on the inside. Doesn't control that. So all your events, facts, experiences, people, nobody controls how you feel. You might say you made me mad. My mom used to tell me that all the time. You're making me mad right now, right? I tell my kids that too by accident. But so the truth is that it's not that. It's the frame or the focus that you have that creates that scenario. Your framing is what creates all of the things. So what happens after framing to go to get us to the next situation? So no matter what, remember, our frames are built out of our definitions, our experiences, how we see things, okay? So we create that frame. What happens next? Well, we can go to the next slide. We just covered this one here, so we're on to the next one now. We can go on to the next one. So what you focus on gets you to have a positive or negative belief. So what's interesting about positive or negative belief is they're actually both a kind of faith. Like either you believe that it's going to happen, we call that faith actually. But you could actually believe that it's not going to happen. You have faith that it's not going to go well for you. You might not put in those words, but that's the truth. You have faith that it's not going to go well. We call that doubt, right? When that starts happening, that's your mindset at that point in time. And I know the harder the situation, the harder this gets. But it's always the truth. Like this isn't something that's just for one situation. It's always the truth. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So we just covered these two right here, all right? We can go to the next one. So your beliefs leads to feelings of ambition or anxiety. And this is interesting because what happens is if I have that positive idea of what's going on, if I have a faithful idea that there's an ambitious state, I start and things are going to go well, and I can't wait to get done with the thing that I'm going to, that whatever project I'm working on, whatever situation that's going to happen. But if I flip that and I'm like, oh man, I put a frame on it that says, nope, not going to go well, then I'm going to actually worry. I'm going to be anxious. I'm going to be worried that the outcome later will not work for me. That's what anxiety is. It's being worried about what's going to happen. It's not even a truth because we don't even factually know. We just are thinking that that's what's going to happen, right? So things lead, or your beliefs lead to your feelings, okay? Next one. So we just covered that one. And then from that, it becomes your functioning. And this is interesting because this is where we get to a place of fight, flight, or flee type concepts, or fawn type concepts, right? So if I was able to, if I put like a negative frame on what was going on, then eventually I end up in a powerless state because my mind and my body says, look, I'm not bigger than my problems. And because I'm not bigger than my problems, I can't do this. I might even go to fight with somebody else to make sure that they could do it. You're not talking to me right. You're being mean. You're whatever situation is happening. Right? I might go to somebody else just because I don't feel like I can do it, which is fine. But the flip over of that is that if we put a positive frame on it, the changeover then is, I feel like there's not a problem that is bigger than me. I'm way bigger than any problem that you give me. Matter of fact, give me all the problems. I'll make it happen, right? So that switch over right there is a difference, and it ends in you being able to execute on the things that you need to execute on, or it ends in you hiding and running from those situations. So this is really cool for a couple different reasons, but we'll get into it in a second. Let's go ahead and flip this one. So we just covered all of those, which is perfect that we were able to line all those out. Here's the real battle, and here we're back to our questions again. What's it take to become a winner while leading at home and in your heart? And then how will you bring others along with you? We just went through the answer, but let me break it down for you. We can go to the next slide. One is the guts. We just talked about that, so we won't go into that again. Let's go to the next one. But the key was the frame factor. That's the key. How you're framing things in life, or how you get other people to frame things in life, is a big deal, but we're not framing things. We're just dealing with the results and playing with that. It's up to us to be able to frame things in a different kind of way. Us working on our framing is our being. We can go to the next slide. So there's a scripture that I like, and the thing about this situation is Paul was inside jail at this time, and we could take this story to anywhere, like, because this happens all kinds of different scenarios. But Paul was in jail at this time, and he's writing to people who were in duress too, right? The Philippians. And he says, and this is how we know, like in the mind, this is where it has to be, because I just showed you a scientific side of it, and now I'm showing you another, like a Bible side of it, right? Brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, keyword, think. That's the focus part. About all those things. About all those things. So now we have two different scenarios that are pretty valid in history, and they're influencing everybody, us, whether we know it or not, constantly, with the key concept that focus creates these situations in your life and these positive relationships. Now you have the ability to influence all the way down to the playing field without even ever stepping on the playing field. But it has to start in here, and it has to start before you even get out there. Right? You have to constantly grind on it, being able to become the person that you have to, so that you can think the way that says, look, I'm focusing on these things no matter what kind of situations are going on. All right, we can go out to the next one. So I hope that that's helpful for you guys, just to be able to understand the difference between what you have control over and what you don't have control over, and then where your influence is at.